Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Ball podcast. I'm your host, Chase. Here in episode number 8, we're going to be talking about the conference finals game, and we also have a game 7 from the second round. We also got some football after we talk about the NBA playoffs. Then we're going to go in and talk about some news that's happened throughout the week, and I'll update you on the top 25 games in the NCAA. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the Celtics Heat series. As a Celtics fan, it started off a little rocky. It started off not the way we wanted, but this Heat team's good. This Heat team isn't anybody to mess with. They swept the Pacers. They almost swept the Bucks. The best team in the league with the best player in the league. So they're not a team to mess with for sure. They're not a team you want to see. They can match up well against anybody. They got a young team along with some veteran core players. This team is a matchup nightmare for just about anybody, really. And so far, it's been shown through this series with the Celtics. So game 1 was an overtime game that the Heat won by 3. Celtics didn't shoot well from 3, and the Heat capitalized on that, shooting better. Tatum scored 30 points, 14 rebounds. He shot a little under 50%, 10 for 24, and then 4 for 12 from 3. Marcus Smart had 26 points. Shot a little under 50%, 6 for 13 from the 3. And then Kemba Walker, who's been struggling throughout the playoffs, it's not been a struggle to score. He's been putting up definitely some good scoring numbers. It's just the difficulty of shooting, especially the 3 right now for him. He scored 19 points, but he shot 1 for 9 from 3. So, just not a great performance from him, even though he scored 19. Obviously helped enough to get him in overtime, and then kind of crumbled from there. For the Heat, it was Goran Dragic, who's been really their guy this whole playoff run for them. He's been their guy. He's led the team in scoring multiple times. He's a great facilitator. He's a great playmaker. And yeah, he's been playing extremely well. He's been their number one guy for scoring for a lot of the time. And in this game, he was too. He scored 29 points, almost 30 for the Dragon, with 7 rebounds. He shot 11 for 19 and 3 for 6 from deep. Good numbers for him. Jimmy Butler, a guy who may not fill up the stat sheet as much as you'd want him to, but he's there. He impacts the game way more than the stat sheet's going to tell you. He's a leader. He's the leader of this team. He's a great defender. He's a great playmaker. He gets to the free throw line. He doesn't shoot great from at least 3, but he gets to the free throw line. He gets to the paint. He knows how to score, and he knows how to facilitate for this team, and he's their leader. He scored 20 points, 5 assists. He shot 50% from the field and 2 for 3 from deep. All right, and the Heat are up 1-0 after that one. On to game 2, another heartbreaker. I believe the Celtics were up in this one, and then they just kind of threw it away. Lost by 5. So the Heat take the 2-0 on them. After this one, there was reports of a lot of yelling and throwing things in the locker room from the Celtics. Multiple players have kind of brushed those reports off, saying that that's not actually what happened. Maybe there was some yelling, but it was probably more constructive yelling than anything. It's a game. You don't want to lose, especially against, someone worse than you. So when you go down 2-0, there's probably a lot of pointing fingers. And, that's just what happens. And people get heated. People don't like to be blamed, so they defend themselves. And if they gotta yell, they gotta yell. I didn't think it was anything to be concerned about. I heard Marcus Smart was the one yelling, and Jaylen Brown, which I don't find surprising. Marcus Smart's a dog, right? He wants to win. He wants to win more than anybody on the team. He will do anything it takes to win. And if he has to yell at his teammates to pick it up and step their game up, then that's what he's going to do. And I don't blame him. Jason Tatum in this one scored 21 points, shot 50% from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. Kemba Walker, another rough shooting game. He did score 23 points, but he shot 9 for 19 and 4 for 11 from 3. Bam Adebayo had 21 points, 10 rebounds. And then Goran Dragic had 25 points, 5 assists. Another game where he leads the team in scoring. It's becoming a familiar sight, for sure. And with that win, Coach Erik Spoelstra moves up to tie for 8th place in playoff wins. So congratulations to him for that one. But game 3, we had to come back and do something, so we won by 11. Celtics did. Sorry. Jason Tatum had 25 points and 14 rebounds, and Jaylen Brown had 26 points. Tatum shot a little under 50%, and Jaylen Brown shot 11 for 17. Good game from the Celtics. The Heat played okay. They didn't shoot the ball great, shooting 27% from the 3 and 38% from the field. So that was a rough game shooting for these guys, but Bam Adebayo finally stacked up a stat sheet. I've been waiting for him to do this. I don't think he scored many more than like 22. But he scored 27 points and 16 rebounds. The shot great. Tyler Hero had 22 points and 4 assists. He did shoot 4 for 12 from 3, but he came in and almost brought this team back. They were down by the likes of 15, 16 at one point. And, Tyler Hero made a few threes, Duncan Robinson made a couple, and then it was like a 5-point game. The Celtics ended up bringing it back the lead and won the game by 11. But this Heat team is nothing to mess with. They're super young. They got a super young core with Bam, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, but they also got veteran leaders on their team. Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Jay Crowder, Andre Iguodala. Those are the guys, Kelly Olynyk. Those are the guys that the young guys are learning from. And obviously Bam is better than Kelly Olynyk, but I guarantee you Bam's learned a lot from him. Just because Kelly Olynyk's been in the league for way more years, and he has that experience. He knows what to do in these situations. So him teaching Bam, Jimmy Butler teaching Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic teaching Kendrick Nunn. It's all going to be, whenever they lose these veterans to whatever it be, retirement, free agency, anything, they're going to have more guys to step up and become those veterans. So this team is going to be good for a very long time if they can keep their pieces around them and stay healthy. So right now that series is at 2-1 Heat, and we get a Game 4 tomorrow. All right, the culmination of the Clippers' meltdown came with a Game 7 loss to the Nuggets, and it was bad. The Clippers had the series lead 3-1, and in Game 5 had about a 15-point lead with about 5 minutes in the third. Since that point, the Nuggets never looked back. They won all the games. They won that game. They won Game 6, and they won Game 7. Terrible performance from Paul George throughout the playoffs, throughout the series. And a very bad performance by Kawhi Leonard, who I'm trying to rep right now. I didn't actually order a Kawhi Leonard jersey. I ordered Damian Lillard. They sent me a Kawhi Leonard one. They are hopefully sending me the Damian Lillard one too at some point. But I got a Kawhi Leonard one. It's not Paul George, I promise. Number's not on the front, but it's number 2. Kawhi Leonard. But Kawhi and PG both played terribly. Kawhi only had 14 points, shot 6 for 22. And Paul George had 10 points, 4 for 16, 2 for 11 from 3. Montrezl Harrell led the way for the Clippers with 20 points, shooting 70%. And the Nuggets, Jokic had a monster game, 16 points, 22 rebounds, 13 assists. He didn't shoot great. He didn't score that much. He had more rebounds and points. He was 5 for 13 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. And then he made 6 out of his 6 free throws. And Jamal Murray stepped up and played a hell of a game. 40 points, 5 assists. He shot 15 for 26 and 6 for 13 from 3. Crazy game from him. And that's what they needed. That's what he's going to have to do in this Lakers series. But also that's going to be a tough job for him to do. So speaking of the Lakers series, Game 1 was a 12-point win for the Lakers. Anthony Davis had 37 points and 10 rebounds. KCP had 18 points. And then LeBron had 15 points and 12 assists. So not a great game from LeBron. He shot a little over 50%, only shooting 11 times, making 6 of them. But it was the AD show. He was 12 for 21 from the field, 12 for 15 from free throws, and he made 1 free throw out of 3. Jokic and Murray did all they could in this one. Jokic had 21 and 6, and then Jamal Murray had 21 and 5. During this game, 2 people moved up on some playoff lists. Rajon Rondo passes MJ for 10th on the all-time playoff assists record. And then J.R. Smith moved up to 9th on the playoff three-pointers made list. So that was cool for both of them. Game 2 was a thriller. Nuggets looked like they had this one locked down. And then Anthony Davis decided to hit a game-winning buzzer beater 3. It was 103-102. Denver. And then Anthony Davis hit that buzzer beater 3, and the Lakers won 105-103. So the Lakers go up 2-0. For the Nuggets, it was Jokic, who had 30 points, 9 assists. He shot a little under 50%, 9 for 20, and then 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Jamal Murray had 25 points and 2 steals, 2 blocks. 8 for 19 from the field, 2 for 9 from deep, so not a great shooting performance from him. And the Lakers, Anthony Davis had 31 points, 9 rebounds. He had 2 blocks. Shot 11 for 23, 2 for 4 from 3, including the buzzer beater game winner. I might show that behind me. I might just be showing some of the most notable clips that happened. I'm not going to be putting every single clip kind of recap in here from now moving forward. But I'll probably put in stuff like the Anthony Davis buzzer beater and stuff like that. So for LeBron, he had 26 points and 11 rebounds. He shot 50%, 10 for 20, and 3 for 8 from 3. So the Lakers take the 2-0 series lead on the buzzer beater from AD. Nuggets, maybe they need the 3-1 deficit to come back and win, but it doesn't look good for them. This game looked like they did have it on lock. Jokic scored 11 points. in the closing minutes. I think he went on like 11-5 run. It was an 11-2 run for Jokic himself until AD's game winner, making it 11-5. But Jokic hit some big shots, to put him up by 1. And if the Nuggets are going to want to win, their supporting cast is going to have to do much more too. Millsap had 6. Jeremy Grant had 7. Gary Harris had 3. Shot 1 for 6. LeBron and AD have Danny Green had 11. KCP had 11. Those two were the only other ones. But the only other person to score double digits for the Nuggets was Michael Porter Jr. with 15. Next closest was Monty Morris with 9. They're just going to have some more support from their supporting cast. It can't just be 2-on-2 the whole game. Especially when that 2-on-2 is with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I don't care who you are. It's very hard to stop that duo. We have Game 3 today. If the Nuggets can win Game 3, I give them a chance. But if the Lakers win Game 3, it's over. All over. So that's basically all we have for basketball. Basketball's coming down to the end. We're really going to have, three games each a week. Maybe. Sometimes 2. Just because they're trying to space it out more, give guys more rest. Obviously, there's only 2 series going on. They don't need to play games every day. But for the NFL, we're going to have, 15, 16 games a week to talk about. So, let's move on to that. All right. So Monday night, primetime game was the Browns and Bengals. Interesting game to put on primetime, but it wasn't a bad one. The Browns won 35-30. So the Browns move on to 1-1. Joe Jackson had a fumble recovery, and they had 3 sacks on Burrow. Myles Garrett, Sheldon Richardson, and Maurice Claiborne all had a sack. Baker Mayfield played okay. He played okay. 16 for 23, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Nick Chubb, it was the running back duo for the Browns, though, that really kept him in this game. Nick Chubb had 22 carries, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Kareem Hunt had 10 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 catches for 15 yards and a touchdown. So 4 touchdowns combined from the running backs really propelled this game. OBJ caught Baker Mayfield's other touchdown. He had 4 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. And then Jarvis Landry had 3 catches for 46 yards. For the Bengals, they fall to 0-2. Tough loss. And tough start to the season. Their defense had 1 interception. On Baker, it was William Jackson. And Joe Burrow played good. In my opinion. He was 37 for 61, 316 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he didn't play bad. Joe Mixon didn't play great. He had 16 carries for 46 yards. Tyler Boyd, had 7 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Uzoma, their tight end, had 4 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And then Mike Thomas had 31 yards receiving and a touchdown. All right, to kick off our Sunday games, we had a good one. Jaguars-Titans. Titans win another one on a field goal. Gostkowski hit a field goal with, I believe, 1:56 left, somewhere around there, and the Jags couldn't score. The Jaguars defense did have a sack. It was Clavon Chassone, their rookie. And the Jags fall to 1-1. after this one. Gardner Minshew, he played pretty well. Besides 2 interceptions, but he was 30 for 45, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then the 2 interceptions. James Robinson, their rookie, had 16 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Keelan Cole caught it 6 times for 58 yards and a touchdown. And then Tyler Eifert had 3 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. DJ Chark had 4 catches, 84 yards. The Jaguars, they're a young team. I'm hearing a lot of tanking for Lawrence, tank for Trevor. Tanking for Tua was way cooler. But I like Gardner Minshew. I think Minshew has something to prove this season. Like, look at his numbers from this game and the last game. He's got something to prove that, like, hey, we don't need to draft that kid. You have your quarterback. You have your future right here. Just give me some weapons. Give me an offensive line. Give me a defense. And we got this. For the Titans, the 2 interceptions, Christian Fulton, the rookie, had 1. And then Harold Landry had 1. They also sacked Minshew twice. Kenny Vaccaro and Crawford both had a sack each. Ryan Tannehill played really good. 18 for 24, 239 yards, and 4 touchdowns for him. Another lackluster game from Derrick Henry. Didn't score, but he carried the ball 25 times for 84 yards. Jonnu Smith, their young tight end, had 4 catches for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Adam Humphries caught the ball 5 times, 48 yards, and a touchdown. They also, Tannehill's 4th touchdown came with a 1-yard pass to a fullback. 49ers Jets. I know I'm gonna be talking about the injuries. I got a whole another section down after football to talk about the injuries. So we'll get to that a little later. But the 49ers dropped to 1-1. They had one sack, and it was Eric Armstead. Jimmy Garoppolo, for the time he played well. 14 for 16, 131, and 2 touchdowns. Nick Mullins then came into the second half, threw it 8 for 11, 71 yards, and did throw an interception. Raheem Mostert played well before also having to leave the game. He had 8 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. He also had some receptions. He had an 80-yard reception for a touchdown. And then Jerick McKinnon came in at 3 carries, 77 yards, including a 3rd and 21 conversion for him on the ground. Kendrick Bourne had 4 catches for 67 yards, and then Jordan Reed, I think it was about 650 days since he caught his last touchdown, and he had 7 catches, 50 yards, and 2 of them, 2 touchdowns in this one. It's been about 2 years for Jordan Reed, and he's finally back in his groove, which I like. I loved Jordan Reed in Washington. I think everybody, him and Trent Williams now on the 49ers, I think both of them get treat. I don't think Washington's front office cares about their players. They let Jordan Reed play through concussions, and which made him get more concussions and made him have to sit out for a year. Same thing with Trent Williams. They made him, they had him playing through his complications with cancer. And so they both quit to get healthy, and then they did, and then now they're both on the 49ers competing. Even though they just fell to 1-1. Or got up to 1-1. They lost to the Cardinals last week. But yeah, good for them. Good for Jordan Reed to come back and get a couple touchdowns. The Jets do fall to 0-2. Their one interception off of Mullins came by Pierre Desir. They also had 3 sacks. Keenan Williams had 2 of them, and then Jenkins had the third. Sam Darnold played okay. 21 for 32, 179 yards, and a touchdown. Frank Gore, Bell did not play. Le'Veon Bell did not play, so Frank Gore came in to play for him. 21 carries, 63 yards. Chris Hogan also left the game with a rib injury, 6 catches, 75 yards. And Braxton Berrios had the lone touchdown on 6 catches, 59 yards with the touchdown. So just followed 0-2. And we're moving on to Giants-Bears. The Giants lose by 4. They fall to 0-2. They did get 2 interceptions off Trubisky by Love and James Bradbury. They also sacked him 4 times. Blake Martinez, Fackrell, Carter, and Hill all had a sack. Daniel Jones, mediocre game. 25 for 40, 241 yards and a pick. No touchdowns. Saquon, before he left the game, had 4 carries for 28 yards. And Dion Lewis, when he came in, had 10 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Evan Ingram caught 6 passes for 65 yards, and Golden Tate, in his return, caught 5 for 47. Terrible game from the Giants. I didn't really expect too much. And I'll get to Saquon a little later, but without him, this team might not win a game. The Bears, though, who did win, go to 2-0. Crazy. Trubisky-led team going 2-0. They had 1 interception from Bush, 1 fumble recovery from Khalil Mack. They also had 4 sacks. Khalil Mack had 1 of them. Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, and Barkevious Mingo had 1 each. 1 for all 4 of them. Trubisky played okay. He didn't play a Patrick Mahomes game, but he was 18 for 28, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. David Montgomery carried the ball 16 times for 82 yards, and he caught the ball 3 times for 45 and a touchdown. And then Matt Mooney had 3 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Trubisky, he's 2-0. I can't really say too much bad things about him, other than he's just not good, especially compared to the guys he was picked before. But, he's 2-0. He's better. His record is better than Deshaun Watson. So, good game from the Bears. Sneaking out with a Saquon-less win against the Saquon-less Giants. All right. Next game, Lions-Packers. This one was close at the beginning. Ended up being a blowout. Lions 21, Packers 42. The Lions fall to 0-2. They did have a sack against Aaron Rodgers, and it was by Collins. Stafford played all right. 20 for 33, 244, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Adrian Peterson had 7 carries, 41 yards, and then Kerryon Johnson had 8 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. TJ Hawkinson, their young tight end, had 4 catches, 62 yards. DeAndre Swift also had 4 catches for 60 yards, and Marvin Jones had 4 catches, 23 yards, and a touchdown. The Packers killed them. I believe it was probably a second half killing. Because I'm pretty sure this game was decently close in the first half. But Aaron Rodgers... the Packers go to race to 2-0. They had the interception on Stafford. It was Sullivan. They also sacked Stafford 4 times, and Darius Smith getting 1. Rashawn Gary had 1.5. Preston Smith had a half sack. And then Scott had one. Excuse me. Aaron Rodgers played well. As much as I hate to say it, he played well. 18 for 30, 240 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm just waiting for this guy to have a bad game. Aaron Jones, though, played crazy. 18 carries, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also caught the ball 4 times for 68 yards and another touchdown. He had... Hold on, quick math. $176... 236 yards. 236 all-purpose yards and 3 total touchdowns. Crazy game from him. He almost had more all-purpose yards than Rodgers did passing yards. Marcus Valdes-Scantling had 3 catches for 64 yards, and Allen Lazard had 3 catches for 45 yards. I believe it was a fullback little dinker pass that scored Rodgers' second touchdown. The Packers are 2-0 with that one. The Colts-Vikings, rough game for the Colts. The Vikings. Sorry, rough game for the Vikings. Rough game for Kirk Cousins, having one of the worst QBRs I've ever seen. But we'll talk about him after the Colts. Colts are 1-1. They win 28-11. They had 3 interceptions against Cousins. Willis, Moore, and T.J. Carey. They also sacked him 3 times. DeForest Buckner had 1.5 sacks. Justin Houston had half. And then Lewis had 1. Phillip Rivers was 19 for 25, 214 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He played average. Jonathan Taylor got, most of the carries today for Marlon Mack. He had 26 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Mo Alley Cox had 5 catches for 111 yards, and then Pascal had 3 catches, 19 yards, and a touchdown. The Vikings fall to 0-2 after this one. They had 1 interception, Wilson, and then 2 sacks. Hill and Yannick Ngakoue had a sack each. Like I said, Kirk Cousins, one of his worst performance of all time, almost guaranteed. He had, I believe, a 15.6 QBR, which is, I don't know if it's the worst ever, but it's definitely the worst of the day. 11 for 26. First of all, bad completion percentage. It's like sub 40, maybe low 40s. 113 yards, below average. Jonathan Taylor almost rushed for more yards than Cousins asked for. And 3 interceptions. Terrible. No touchdowns. Terrible. Dalvin Cook, he had 14 carries, 63 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, the rookie, had 3 catches for 44 yards, and Adam Thielen had 3 catches for 31. Excuse me. Terrible game for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Yeah, just a bad loss for them as they fall to 1-2. For the defending, they had a good run in the playoffs, and now they're 0-2. Rams Eagles, rough start to the season for the Eagles, as the Rams beat them 37-19. They had 1 fumble recovery from Young and 2 interceptions on Wentz, Hill and Williams, as the Rams exceeded to 2-0. Jared Goff played well, 20 for 27, 267 yards and 3 touchdowns. Henderson had 12 carries, 81 yards and a touchdown, and then Malcolm Brown had 11 carries for 47 yards. Robert Woods had 2 catches for 14 yards, but he also had 3 carries for 19 yards and a touchdown. He wasn't involved as much as you'd think after getting a big extension, but but it was Tyler Higbee actually had 5 catches, 54 yards, and 3 touchdowns, all from Goff. So it's a great game for Higbee, and anybody who started Higbee for fantasy is a genius. But yeah, and then the Eagles, they fall to 0-2. Carson Wentz just can't get it together. They did have a fumble recovery, Wallace, and they sacked Goff once. It was Brandon Graham. Wentz was 26 for 43 on completions, 242 yards, and 2 interceptions. He carried the ball twice for 7 yards and scored a touchdown on the ground. Miles Sanders came back to the team after being hurt last week. Saw a lot of Boston Scott, and now it's Miles Sanders. He played well. 20 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Deshaun Jackson caught 6 passes for 64 yards, and Ertz had 5 catches for 43. Other than that, Sanders rushing touchdown and the Wentz rushing touchdown. Not much else going for the Eagles as they fall to 0-2. Falcons Cowboys. This was a good one. The Falcons were up by 20 in the third quarter. And Dak Prescott and the Cowboys brought it back. They got a onside kick, and then Greg Zuerlein, who they got from the Rams, hits the game-winning field goal. The Falcons, choke city. Obviously, we remember the Super Bowl with the Patriots. And it's all been history from there, 28-3. And then they were up by 20 in this game too. Falcons fall to 0-2. They did have 3 fumble recoveries: Grady Jarrett, Sinnat, and Kaminsky. And they had a sack. It was Dante Fowler and Deion Jones combining for the sack. Matt Ryan didn't play terrible. I think it was something that they're the first team, one of the first teams to lose. Was putting up a certain amount of numbers and no turnovers because they didn't turn the ball over once. Ryan was 24 for 36, 273 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Todd Gurley carried the ball 21 times for 61 yards. Calvin Ridley had 7 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Hayden Hurst had 5 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. And then Gage had 6 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown. I believe Julio Jones only caught the ball twice for around 20 yards. He didn't get injured or anything, so interesting that he didn't get targeted more. He might have got targeted, but didn't catch the ball more. Cowboys go to 1-1. With this, they really needed this win after losing last week to the Rams. They did sack Matt Ryan once. It was Everson Griffin, newly acquired. Dak Prescott played crazy, played great. A lot of people are like MVP Prescott thing. I mean, if he does this every game now, then sure. But after last week's performance, and after I watched Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes kill people, metaphorically, killing defenses, I get Patrick Mahomes had a rough time with the Chargers, but if I ever have a vote, I'd vote. If I had a vote for MVP, at least right now, it'd be Russell Wilson, barring any substantial event happening. If he throws 5 interceptions in a game or, God forbid, gets hurt. But Russell Wilson's my MVP. Dak played insane. Dak played crazy. And led the comeback, really. But after just one game, I'm not sold, man. I've never been sold on Dak. I think he's a good quarterback. But I definitely don't think he's worth $30 million. I definitely don't think he's an MVP. But he played really good this game, so I'm not gonna dog on him too much. 34 for 47 completions, 450 passing yards, and a touchdown through the air. He also carried it 5 times, 18 yards, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So he had 4 total touchdowns, so not bad. Zeke carried the ball 22 times for 89 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb played well, 6 catches, 106 yards. Cooper had 6 catches, 100 yards. And Dalton Schultz had 9 catches, 88 yards, and Prescott's lone touchdown. So yeah, Dak played great. It was an MVP game, yes, but he's not my MVP. No. Bills, Dolphins. Dolphins barely sneak out with the loss. Should have said that the other way around. Bills barely sneak out with the loss, winning by 3, 31-28. The Bills sacked Fitzpatrick once. It was Jordan Poyer. He's from Oregon, represent from Astoria. Josh Allen played well, 24 for 35, 417 yards, 4 touchdowns. Devin Singletary, 10 carries, 56 yards. Diggs played really good, 8 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown. And then John Brown had 4 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. The Dolphins fall to 0-2. The Bills were 2-0, sorry. And Dolphins go to 0-2. They did have a fumble recovery by Igbenogene. And they had 1 sack. It was Emmanuel Ogbah and Van Ginkel teaming up for the sack on Josh Allen. Fitzpatrick, he played okay. I was still surprised to see him in the game. He was 31 for 47, 328 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Myles Gaskin had 7 carries for 46 yards, and then Jordan Howard had 5 carries for 4 yards, but he had a touchdown. Mike Gesicki played well. Their young tight end from Penn State. Or not Penn State. Is it from Penn State? Is it from Penn State or BYU? Can't remember. 8 catches, 130 yards, a touchdown. Ford had 7 catches for 76 yards, and Devontae Parker had 5 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Good game there. As we go down to Steelers-Broncos, this is the start of the... Oh, no, these are still morning games. Never mind. Steelers-Broncos, this was a good one. A lot going down very early, and the Steelers still only managed to win by 5. They had 1 interception, Joe Hayden, 1 fumble recovery, Mike Hilton, and they sacked the Denver quarterbacks 7 times. Mike Hilton had 1, Alu had 1, TJ Watt had 2.5, Edmonds had 1, and Dupree had 1. I don't know who had the other half. Someone. Yeah, that's only 6.5. I forgot to put whoever had the half. But they had 7 sacks. Ben Roethlisberger played good. 29 for 41, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. James Conner had 16 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Good to see him back and healthy after last game's scare. Deontay Johnson had 8 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. He's going to be really good. Chase Claypool, the rookie, is going to be really good. Had 3 catches, 88 yards, and a deep bomb touchdown. And then Juju had 7 catches, 48 yards. Great young team with a great veteran quarterback. They're going to be good. They go to 2-0 after this one. The Broncos, who we thought were going to be good. I mean, they're a good team for sure. You lose your quarterback at the beginning of the game, kind of tough to win, but they fall to 0-2. They did have a fumble recovery from Jackson, and interception was Justin Simmons, and they sacked Ben once, Mike Purcell. Drew Lock before leaving was only 1 for 5 for 20 yards. And then Jeff Driscoll came in for the rest of the game, 18 for 34, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Melvin Gordon on the ground had 19 carries for 70 yards. He also had a receiving touchdown. Sutton, before losing him, 3 catches, 66 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 4 catches, 62 yards. And Noah Fant, 4 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Another young team who's going to be really, really, really good in the future. Bucks Panthers. Tom Brady gets his first win as a Buccaneer, 31-17. The Bucks go to 1-1. They had 2 fumble recoveries from Levante David and Jason Pierre-Paul. They had 2 interceptions, Davis and Tahir Whitehead, and they had 5 sacks on Bridgewater. Antoine Winfield Jr. and Dominican Sue had 2, and Jason Pierre-Paul had 1. Brady played okay, 23 for 35, 217 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Leonard Fournette got a majority of the carries in this one, 12 carries, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Ronald Jones had 7 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown. Mike Evans had 7 catches, 104 yards, and Brady's touchdown. And that was the performers there. 100-yard game from Fournette, 100-yard game from Evans. Pretty good team win for the Bucks. The Panthers fall to 0-2 after losing the Raiders last week. They did have a fumble recovery, Hamilton, and they had an interception. Jackson intercepted Tom Brady. Bridgewater played okay besides his 2 interceptions, no touchdowns ratio, but he was 33 for 42 with 367 yards. I don't know if McCaffrey played the whole game and then got diagnosed with his injury, but he had 18 carries, 59 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and 4 catches for 29 yards. DJ Moore had 8 catches, 120 yards, and Robbie Anderson had 9 catches, 109 yards. A lot of yards. Lots of yards. No touchdowns, though. All right, afternoon games. We have a few of those. Cardinals against Washington. Cardinals win 30-15. They go to 2-0. They had 2 fumble recoveries, Chandler Jones and Brewer. And they also had 4 sacks. Kennard, Peters, Reddick, and Phillips getting 1 each. Kyler Murray played pretty well. 26 for 38, 286 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He also carried the ball 8 times for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kenyon Drake had 20 carries, 86 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins had 8 carries, 8 receptions, 68 yards, a touchdown. Fitz had 7 catches, 50 yards. And Andy Isabella had 2 catches for 67. So he had a couple bombs. I wasn't able to watch it, but he had a couple bombs. Washington falls to 1-1. Their 1 interception was from Landon Collins, and they sacked Murray 3 times with John Bostic, Collins, and Chase Young. Haskins played okay, 19 for 33, 233 yards, and a touchdown. Gibson had 13 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. McKissick had 8 carries, 53 yards. Terry McLaurin had 7 receptions, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Then we move on to Chiefs-Chargers. Overtime game. Chiefs win it with a Butker kick. Butker was 3 for 3 from field goals. From 48, 52, and 58 for the game winner. 58 in overtime. They had one interception. It was L'Jarius Sneed, who also had the pick last week. They also sacked Justin Herbert, who played twice. They sacked him twice. Dana and Taco Charlton were the 2 to get in there. Patrick Mahomes played well, 27 for 47, 302 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran the ball 6 times for 54 yards. Edwards-Helaire had 10 carries, 38 yards, so a little step back from last week. That's okay, though. Rookie. Tyreek Hill 5 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Kelsey had 9 catches for 90 yards and also a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had a controversial call after his touchdown where he took his helmet off after he scored, which is an unsportsmanlike conduct and a 15-yard penalty. After that, they didn't call it. The Chiefs got the 2-point conversion on the 2-yard line instead of the 17-yard line. Got it, tied the ball game, went into overtime, won the game. So, little missed call there could have cost the Chargers the win. But the Chargers do fall to 1-1. They sacked Mahomes once. Joey Bosa got the sack. Justin Herbert with the surprise start. Played well, 22-33. 311 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Also 4 carries, 18 yards, and a touchdown. A touchdown on his opening drive, a rushing touchdown. Austin Eckler had 16 carries for 93 yards and 4 catches for 55. And then Kelly had 23 carries for 64 yards. Keenan Allen had 7 catches for 96 yards. Hunter Henry had 6 for 83. And Guyton, another rookie, had 1 catch, 14 yards, and a touchdown. His first touchdown in the NFL. Also, Herbert's first passing touchdown in the NFL. So the Chargers lose that in overtime, and could they have won it if they called that penalty? Maybe. But you never know. It is the Chiefs. So, missed call for sure. But what are you going to do now? The Ravens and the Texans. The Ravens continue to demolish people, 33-16. They go to 2-0. They had a fumble recovery. It was T.J. Fort who returned it for a touchdown. Marcus Peters had an interception on Deshaun Watson, and then they sacked Watson 4 times. Marlon Humphrey and Gary Clark had half each. Calais Campbell, Elliott, and Tyus Bowser had 1 each as well. Lamar did Lamar things, 18 for 24, 204 yards, a touchdown, 16 carries, 54 yards. Gus Edwards got a lot of the carries, 10 carries, 73 yards, and I guess Mark Ingram only had 1 less carry, 9 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown out of the Wildcat formation, a pretty deep one. Hollywood Brown had 5 catches, 42 yards. Boykin had 4 catches, 38, and Patrick Ricard, who had Jackson's 1 lone touchdown. Just a little dink and dunk, 1 yard, 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. Love to see it. The Texans keep the struggle bus going, man. They fall to 0-2. They sacked Jackson 4 times. Omenihu had 1, Cunningham had 1, and J.J. Watt had 2. So they got to him. They just couldn't stop anybody else scoring. Deshaun Watson played okay. Not a Deshaun Watson game. He's 25 for 36, 275 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. David Johnson, didn't do what they were hoping in this one, at least as well as last game. 11 carries, 34 yards. Brandon Cooks had 5 catches, 95 yards. Cobb had 5 catches for 59 yards, and Darren Fells had 2 catches, 23 yards, and Watson's touchdown. All right, Sunday night, very, very good classic Seahawks-Patriots game. Seahawks win by 5. Stuffed Cam on a run on the 1 yard line with no time left. It was either they were gonna score or they weren't. They score, Patriots win. They don't, Seahawks win. And hey, that's how it goes sometimes. They got good push. They stopped him in the back, and they toppled him over before he could pass the line, the cross plane. So the Seahawks improved to 2-0. They did pick off Cam once. It was Quinn Dunbar, and Jamal Adams sacked Cam Newton once. Wilson, insane game. Another MVP game. 21 for 28, 288 yards, and 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. And he did throw 1 pick, but it was a tipped pass. So I don't blame him too much. Chris Carson played well, 17 carries, 72 yards. He had 3 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Metcalf kind of bullied Stephon Gilmore most of the night. 4 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Lockett had 7 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. And then Moore and Swain both had a touchdown each to round out Wilson's 5. The Patriots fall to 1-1, which is tough. McCourty is the one who picked off Russell Wilson, and they sacked him twice. Calhoun, and then Rivers and Winovich had a half combined for 1. Newton played well, 30 for 44, 400 yards, 397 yards. A touchdown, a pick. He had 11 carries, 47 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Sony Michel had 7 carries for 19 yards. Julian Edelman had 8 catches, 179 yards, which is a career high. And I believe he scored. I didn't write down that he scored, but I'm pretty sure he scored a touchdown. No, he didn't. He didn't score a touchdown. Jacob Johnson, with the 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown game for him. Had Cam's 1 passing touchdown, but 179 yards is his career high for Edelman. Had some crazy catches. Bird had 6 catches for 72 yards. And N'Keal Harry had 8 catches for 72 yards. Moving on to Monday night, Saints Raiders. Shocker here, honestly. Raiders win by 10. The Saints fall to 1-1. They had a fumble recovery from Williams, 3 sacks. Malcolm Jenkins. Janoris Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins plays for the Eagles. Onyemata and Hendrickson also had a sack each. Breeze played okay. Not a Breeze game. 26 for 38, 312 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Alvin Kamara played good. 13 carries, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns, also with 9 receptions, 95 yards. And Tre'Quan Smith had 5 catches, 86 yards. The Raiders improve to 2-0. Love this Raiders team. They did pick off Breeze once. It was Morrow, who actually was in place for an injured Steeler linebacker. Derek Carr played well, 28 for 38, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, another great game for him, 27 carries, 88 yards. Couldn't find the house, but that's all right. Rashard fumbled the ball once, but redeemed himself with a touchdown. He had 2 carries, 26 yards in the touchdown. And then Darren Waller, one of my favorite players, again, 12 catches, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. I love this team. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL one day in the near future. And I think Darren Waller is going to be one of the best tight ends in the near future as well. I can't wait to see them keep going. So the Raiders prove that they're a good team. That was it for football. We're going to move on to the injuries, though. It was a bad day. Bad day for injuries. Losing a lot of talent in the NFL that we're going to be missing. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough to watch some games without these guys. Nick Bosa, out. Tore the ACL. Done for the season. Saquon Barkley, also tore his ACL. Out for season. It's very unfortunate. Both those guys. Everybody else too. You have a few more ACL tears down here, but the comeback's going to be crazy. Christian McCaffrey, as I was saying, I don't know if it happened during the game or after, or he played through it, but he has a high ankle sprain. He is listed as 4 to 6 weeks. So Panthers fans are going to be out Christian McCaffrey for an extended period of time. Drew Lock, who got injured early in the game, he sprained his AC joint. The Broncos say it could be anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. Driscoll didn't play bad for them. He's obviously going to have to probably step up and be that guy unless they want to sign a guy like Colin Kaepernick. But Drew Lock is out for at least 2, at most 6 weeks. Another blow to the Broncos team, Courtland Sutton tore his ACL. He's out for the season. He had a labrum injury that kept him out of game 1. And now going into game 2, he tears his ACL. So, tough break for Sutton. He just can't get anything going. And he's going to have to wait till next year to play. Jimmy Garoppolo had a high ankle sprain. He's questionable. Shanahan says there is a chance he will play. But don't be surprised if Nick Mullins comes in to play, at least start the game for the 49ers next week. Davante Adams hurt his hamstring in the game. He's listed as questionable. He'll probably play. Should be fine, but he's listed as questionable right now. Tavon Young, Ravens corner. He also tore his ACL. He's out for the season. Lots of losses for teams. Malik Hooker, Achilles tear, also out for season. Colts young safety. Brandon Scherf, Washington's guard, who really is a key part of that line. He hurt his knee. No specifics, but he is questionable. Byron Jones came into the game battling an Achilles injury, and then he hurt his groin. So he's got both those going on. He is questionable as well. Raheem Mostert, another blow to this 49ers team, sprained his MCL. He is listed as doubtful for this game and should be gone for 1 to 2 weeks. Tyrod Taylor left the game, giving Justin Herbert, or didn't start the game, giving Justin Herbert the surprise start. He had a rib problem last week, and then he had some chest pains that he actually went to the hospital for. Anthony Lynn says that he's the starter if he's healthy. If he's okay to go next week, he's going to be the starter, which is interesting, but that's the coach's decision. Anthony Barr, big hit to the Vikings D. He tore his pectoral muscle, so he's out for the season, or at least an extended period of time. Excuse me. Brandon Linder, the center for the Jaguars, he hurt his knee also. He is questionable as of right now. Excuse me. Paris Campbell strained his PCL. Wide receiver for the Colts. He's out indefinitely. As of right now, he's done until further notice. 2 big hits for the Seahawks. Bruce Irvin and Marquise Blair both tore their ACLs in the game against the Patriots, so they're both out for the season. Tough loss for them. Tyron Smith, Cowboys guard or tackle, didn't play because of a neck problem. He's still listed as questionable. And then the last big injury, Solomon Thomas tore his ACL, also out for the season. Another big hit to the 49ers defense. We're going to wrap it up with a little bit of news around sports. NFL news. Just a few things. A couple extensions. Signing. 49ers signed Mohamed Sanu to a 1-year deal after the Patriots cut him. The Rams extended Robert Woods for 4 years and $65 million. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons last year and 2018. Definitely set to be one of their top receivers. Him and Cooper Kupp getting paid pretty well. The Bears extended Tariq Cohen for 3 years, $17.25 million. Kind of the backup running back, but also a very flex type player. He can play running back, he can play receiver, he kick returns, punt returns. So very diverse weapon for the Bears. That's all we had for the NFL, besides all the injuries. But NBA released the All-NBA teams. First team, LeBron. He passes Kobe, I believe, for most All-NBA selections at 16. I believe Kobe and a couple others at 15. Anthony Davis, Luka, who is the youngest player ever to be on the first team. James Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo round out the first team. All-NBA second team consists of Nikola Jokic, Pascal Siakam, Chris Paul, Dame, and Kawhi Leonard. And then All-NBA third team, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, Rudy Gobert, Ben Simmons, and Russell Westbrook round out the third team. Giannis won MVP, joining Hakeem and MJ as the only one to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. And I believe joining MJ is the only one to win multiple MVPs in a depoy. Speaking of MJ, he is starting a NASCAR team with NASCAR legend Denny Hamlin. Interesting venture. Their first driver is going to be Bubba Wallace, which is really cool to see. And then a little NCAA news, and then we'll get on to the NCAA top 25 games, and then we'll wrap it up. The Big Ten decided to start their season on October 23rd, so we'll get Big Ten games in about a month. Jackson State, a little HBCU, named Deion Sanders as their new football coach. That's really cool. I think HBCUs are finally getting their name out there. You obviously have the top schools, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, but, these HBCUs can produce some talent, and I think a lot of good players are going to start going to these HBCUs. Alabama named Mac Jones their starting quarterback for next week. They haven't played the first game. They play their openers next week. Well, next Saturday. And Mac Jones will be starting at quarterback. Games this week. Top 25. I really want to do the top 25. And then a little bit of, if somebody had a great game. Clemson beat the Citadel 49-0. Trevor Lawrence 8 for 9, 168 yards and 3 touchdowns. Notre Dame, number 7 Notre Dame beat Tulane 52-0. Ian Book had 12 for 19 completion, 143 yards, and they had 3 rushing touchdowns on 4 carries. Number 11 Oklahoma State barely beats Tulsa 16-7. Number 13 Cincinnati beat Austin Peay 55-20. Their running back Jared Brooks had 4 total touchdowns and 84 total yards. Number 14 UCF beat Georgia Tech 49-21. UCF's quarterback Gabriel 27 for 41, 417 yards and 4 touchdowns. Number 17 Miami beat number 18 Louisville 47-34. Number 19 Louisiana barely beat Georgia State in overtime 34-31. The only upset was number 23 Appalachia State getting beat by Marshall 7-17, and then number 25 Pittsburgh won 21-10 against Syracuse. That's all we have for this week. Getting into football more out of basketball. Basketball's wrapping up though. They're getting fun series. And yeah, football is going to be in full swing. I mean, it pretty much is in full swing right now. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. Just remember to like and subscribe. It don't cost a thing, it don't cost a thing. Just hit the little thumbs up button, little red subscribe button. Helps me out tremendously and helps me, grow for my future, I guess. Thank you everybody for watching and listening, whether or not you're on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can find me everywhere. Thank you for all the support. You've all been crazy supportive. So, yeah. Peace out, everybody.